It's time to admit I was probably wrong. You've been telling me my priorities are incorrect, and an engine wobble on a flight from Germany to England
Got a slight hiccup on the engine there.
proves I should have listened to you.
We had a slight loss of power.
Join me on this flight debrief, which could have a big effect on my flying plans for the year ahead. Good morning from Berlin. Just going to cross the road before I get run over, where I'm going to be heading back to the UK in the Piper Arrow today. Not even McDonald's is open. It's an early start, and I found a coffee shop for breakfast where I filed my flight plan back to Earls, Colne in southeast England before driving back to Schoenhagen Airport, Echo Delta Alpha Zulu, where I met the border police and tried to pay my airport fees. So we're here at the airport. The police were already here and they were pleased to see that I was here at this time, so that meant they can get on with their day rather than waiting for me. I've just gone to pay my fees, but they need my noise certificate in order to calculate my fees. So I'm just going over to the aeroplane to go and get that first. Certificate handed over, fees paid and fuel uplifted. I jumped into India Victor on this hot spring European day. It's really warm here. What's the temperature? 20 degrees Celsius. Clear for up.
Schoenhagen information, Golf Bravo Mike India Victor at the fuel apron. Request aerodrome information and taxi VFR flight to Echo Golf Sierra Romeo on a VFR flight plan.
Golf Bravo Mike India Victor, Schoenhagen information, good day. We have runway 07 in use and QNH 1007 and taxi on discretion to the holding point Alpha 07.
07 QNH 1007, taxi holding point Alpha, runway 07, Golf Bravo Mike India Victor.
So a bit of background to this episode. Next year I want to fly across the Atlantic to Canada and the USA. I'm currently doing my instrument rating in preparation for that and doing long trips like this one to get myself used to the endurance of long distance flight in an SEP. I'm also upgrading the avionics, new G5s, a Garmin GTN 650Xi, and eventually in phase 2, when I can afford it, a Garmin GFC 500 autopilot. This upgrade is really stretching me financially. I'm having to make big savings and sacrifices to afford it all, and in an episode a few weeks ago I told you of my plans and why I'm going with this setup in this order of priority. Now, quite a few of you have questioned why I'm not putting in a modern engine instrument such as the GI 275 or something from the EDM range. I explained that I'm being strictly driven by my goal to do this epic flight next year, and I simply can't afford to do it all. So I've decided to put the new Navcom G5s and eventually the autopilot at the top of the priority list. After all, this aircraft has flown quite happily for nearly 50 years without major incident and with just rudimentary engine gauges. Well, lots of you told me I was completely wrong about that. You told me I should prioritise new engine instruments over everything else. And I wasn't really taking that on board until undertaking this flight, which is making me seriously question my judgment. We'll get into the cruise on this very hazy day in Germany, and then you can see what happened.
Oh, that's really hazy. Landing lights, flaps, gear, P's and P's. I mean, it's IFR into the sun, really. IMC is just nothing. No horizon. Oh, there's traffic. Golf Bravo Mike India Victor, Luckenwald, climbing altitude 3,200 feet. Request activation of flight plan.
Your flight plan is activated, India Victor.
Thank you. Golf Bravo Mike India Victor, changing to Langen information 132.650.
Good flight.
See you.
I'm a member of AOPA UK or AOPA UK, the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. Being able to fly across Europe like this is a huge privilege, but if we want to continue being able to do this, we need organisations like AOPA standing up for our freedoms. They're continuously under threat, aren't they? 2 airfields in Belgium, for example, have recently become out of bounds for pilots flying aircraft like mine. AOPA UK needs your help to continue the fight. Join today with my discount link for 25% off your first year or 2-year membership. So I try really hard to look after my engine. I operate it exactly in accordance with the flight and engine manuals. For instance, in the cruise, I'll even go so far as to compensate for the difference in temperature compared with ISA, the International Standard Temperature.
So here we are at flight level 85, which is the semicircular flight level for VFR flight, heading westbound, letting the plane build up speed, letting the engine cool a little bit with the full mixture rich. We'll soon lean back, trimming forward as we build speed, almost at cruise speed now. So we'll lean back to about there and we'll see where that comes out on the EGT. Just need to check the temperature. So the current temperature here is 30. We're at 8,000, it should be 31. We're about 30, so we'll call it, we need 24 RPM, can't get 75% at...
Delta Kilo Sierra, Ziffer 172, 2 Personen, VFR Prüfungsflug, so
we want
33.8.
India Victor has analogue gauges for manifold pressure, RPM, fuel flow, oil temperature, oil pressure and cylinder head temperatures, also an exhaust gas temperature gauge which I'm using today to lean to 100 degrees rich of peak per the operating handbook for a 75% best performance cruise. About 200 miles in and nearly halfway to England, everything seemed to be going smoothly, but then I noticed something. I can't remember if it was a sound, a judder or what it was actually, but whatever it was, I knew it wasn't good.
Okay, we're halfway there. I suppose one of the things about these long legs that isn't talked about is the kind of boredom, and how do you maintain this level of vigilance for such a long time. Now the flight back to, well, we're going to Earls Colne here today for fuel, but it's going to be 3 hours, so it's not the longest flight that I'm doing at the moment, but still you're kind of sitting here. I mean, you're enjoying the view, but you've got to keep the scan going, you've got to keep an eye on your heading and track and your T's and P's and your standby. Got a slight hiccup on the engine there.
You would like to leave?
We had a slight loss of power. I thought I was hearing things, but then I saw the manifold pressure dip down.
So here's a replay of that moment, and I'll zoom in on the manifold pressure gauge, which you hopefully can see dropped 5 to 10 inches. And the benefit of having cameras on the exterior of the aircraft also means I can look back and see that there were a couple of puffs of dark coloured exhaust coming from the engine at that same moment as well. I immediately looked to find my nearest airfield on Skydemon, and I was checking its details. But no sooner had the engine had its wobble, it was back to normal again.
We're back up. All the T's and P's are fine, so whether it was just a bit of something in the fuel or injector or something, I don't know. Everything's stable again now. We are getting a slight fluctuation on the manifold pressure. I'm not leaning aggressively. There is a slight variation on the manifold pressure, just tiny little variations. I don't know if that's an instrumentation problem, but then, like I said, it felt like we lost power briefly. Golf India Victor, commencing descent, altitude 4,500 feet, request QNH.
1005, Golf India Victor.
1005, Golf Bravo Mike India Victor.
I was commencing descent for airspace ahead, not because of the problem actually, and I continued to monitor the gauges very closely for the rest of the flight, but it all seemed to be running normally again. When you focus on the gauges, like you inevitably do after something like this, every slight movement or variation seems bigger than it actually is. It appears unusual, doesn't it? But it's probably just a normal wobble that you don't normally notice in ordinary circumstances. That drop in power was real though, and of course I spoke to the engineers about it. Possible causes they suggested were maybe something in the fuel, some contamination, maybe a leak in the air intake, perhaps a bit of soot on one of the valves. It's getting looked at now as it's having its 50-hour check, But we don't have any more clues. If I'd had modern electronic engine instruments, every parameter would have been logged, and that might have helped us narrow down the search for the cause. Also, if something was seriously going wrong in flight, I would have been able to make informed decisions about whether to continue or not, rather than just hoping it was just a blip. So this timely incident has certainly made me look at the avionics upgrade in a new light, and rather than fit a new autopilot for phase 2, perhaps it'll have to be an engine instrument. I can't afford both, so it really is one or the other. So perhaps many of you were right after all, and I was wrong to prioritise functionality, flight accuracy and workload reduction over and above instrumentation and diagnostic tools. I hope it's a long time before my engine needs overhauling or requires any major work. When it does though, it'll be sure to go to Norvic Aero Engines. Norvic and the Flying Reporter YouTube channel have been in partnership for some time now, and they're a great company to be associated with. They're a plain-speaking, fairly priced business that won't rip you off or underestimate the cost of work, only to slap on lots of extra charges once they have your engine in pieces. For engine overhauls, Norvic is a name you can trust.
Golf India Victor entering the ATZ from the east, height 2,000 feet, joining overhead runway 06.
Golf India Victor, approach.
Golf India Victor, final runway 06 to land.
Golf India Victor, surface wind 080 degrees 9 knots.
Landing runway 06, Golf India Victor. Well, that was an enjoyable flight, 3 hours and 13 minutes from Berlin. Abby is now filling India Victor up with some cut price fuel, and then I'm going to head back to Red Hill. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I've enjoyed my trip to Berlin. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and like, and when you see my next episode come up, go and watch it straight away for me, won't you? See you soon. Fly safely, folks. Bye for now.